I'm Korean, but I was once asked where I was from, and then I told him I'm from Egypt. And guess what? He believed it. I was from Egypt.
I'm Indian and I'm proud to be one. But in Thailand, when somebody was trying to sell their food to me, they couldn't guess whether I was from Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, or India. And I was so proud of myself.
Oh dear. You're so proud that someone couldn't tell your nationality.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I'm so Oriental. Welcome to Kimchi and Chutney podcast with me, Alok.
And it's me, Rami. Hello. How are you, Alok? How was your week?
My week was good. How was your week?
It was good. Yeah. Well, finally it's getting warmer. It was really cold winter we had. Weather's good and nothing much really. What about you? What's been happening in India?
Weather-wise, summer is here and how? It's 42 degrees Celsius in Hyderabad where I stay.
Hang on,
And
hang on. It's a summer all year round in India, okay? I
that's
can tell
not
you.
true. That's not true.
It's scorching hot summer all year round from my point of view.
We have places where it snows and it is hot, very, very hot, right? So, for example, in Delhi, it goes to minus 8 degrees Celsius to now 37, 39, 40 degrees Celsius.
Ooh.
So anyway, so it's 42 degrees Celsius in Hyderabad where I stay. And last weekend I went to celebrate my godchild's 10th birthday. And because she's 10 and now she's all grown up, she wanted to spend it with her mother's friends. So we
So grown up.
so we went to an amusement park, and I realized that I was never made for amusement parks. I hated doing slides. All I wanted to do was be at the kiddies pool.
Ah, okay.
Which made me think a lot of how scared I was as a child of amusement parks.
Hmm.
And I remember my sister told me that if you're scared, just keep screaming, and close your eyes. And I did that, and I caught on to the tubes that I was on. I was holding on to the tubes for my life, and I don't know. There were some pictures taken, and it was horrible. It seemed like for a small ride, I'm clinging on to life.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, yeah, talking about childhood, that's what we're gonna talk about in this episode, isn't it?
Yes.
So talking about amusement, I just have a little story to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in school, we used to go to this amusement park as a sort of like a picnic, school picnic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to one, and then there's like some sort of a ride that we were going to go on. And then I was so scared. And then it was some sort of thing that goes very up high. And then I was like really scared. And when we were up there very high, I started to scream. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I started to bleed on my nose.
Oh shit.
So I was bleeding the whole time.
Oh my God.
So when we came back to the bottom ground, the person sitting next to me, he said that even you're more scared than this ride.
Oh, poor you.
I was just like really screaming, and then somehow this blood started to come out. I couldn't control myself. So that was one episode where I'm
Did you
not.
go back to amusement parks after that?
I think so. Yeah, but then not to enjoy riding. You can tell I'm not really a big fan of.
Adventure?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do like adventure, but not the sort of amusing riding machine. Yeah, so this episode we're gonna hear a bit more about our childhood. So I've got some questions actually. Should I go one by one and then just, hear our stories?
I feel like you're interviewing me. Yeah, let's start. Ask.
Okay, now I'm being cautious. Okay, interview number 1. No, joke aside. What were you like as a young girl, Alok? I mean, I think I can kind of imagine what you're like, but then I never really heard what you're like. Tell me.
Ah, I'm still young. Okay. No,
Yeah.
as a child, I think I was constant. I think I was a shy kid, but what I hear from my mother is that my teachers would say that I was a very talkative kid in school. But I know that I was not very sure of myself as I was when I was a child. My earliest memory of school was me hiding under a desk because somebody asked me to write a paragraph
Right.
in Bangla or Bengali, my mother tongue, and I didn't know how to, so I hid it on the table and I slept off. So I was woken up by the teacher. Thankfully, we shifted from Calcutta, where I used to stay, to Bombay, and I didn't have to write in Bengali ever again. Other than when my mother forced me to, saying that, what a shame that you don't know your mother tongue.
Oh
So,
dear.
but
One
yeah, I
question.
think I was a happy-go-lucky
Right.
child, but shy nonetheless. But I gained much more confidence when, as I grew up.
Oh,
What
that's
about you?
I mean, before the one question, you
Okay,
said
sorry.
Bengali language.
Bengali. Yeah.
Is it very different to other languages in India? I have no idea about your different languages in India. So excuse my non-existing knowledge about Indian language.
Mm. We have around 23 to 24 languages in India and hundreds of dialects, like how the language is spoken. Bengali is comes from the West Bengal, which is a state in the eastern region of India. Yeah. Do you want to know more about the languages of my
Well,
country?
let's talk about this in another episode because
Yeah.
that's fascinating. So yeah, how was my childhood? What was I like when I was a child? Well, like your mom, actually, my mom said I used to be a very chatty child. Like I wouldn't stop talking. Very different to how I am now as an adult. Because yeah, so my mom told me I used to be really chatty, but then I stopped being chatty, I guess. I remember being shy as well. Like I have a photograph when I was younger, maybe like 5 or 6 years old. There was I still remember. It was my dad's friend. We were at this sort of botanical gardens, and he was going to take a family picture of us, and then I didn't like somebody taking picture of us. I wasn't because I didn't know my dad's friend, so I was hiding my dad's behind my dad's leg. So this picture came out, our family picture, and then my face is behind my dad's leg. That's one of the memories. I think actually now think about it, it makes sense why I don't like taking pictures when I'm, you know. And then I used to be quite large, meaning fat, when I was in school. So it I used to get called like all sorts of nicknames, and it made me really like uncomfortable and not so happy. And then people would tell me like how I'm stealing my sister's food because I was always the big one, whereas my sister was always the skinny one. So people thought I was just stealing all my sister's food. That's why I was
But who said these things? Like your classmates or your teachers or your family?
the others actually family members.
Oh, for you.
Yeah, because I guess it. I don't know. Like my grandma as well. She used to say, "Oh, stop eating." Yeah, she was like, "Oh, you're getting fat," and all that. So that's the sad side of my childhood. But then it wasn't all sad. I can say like I can say I grew up very comfortably. Like my parents they tried their best to take us to like different places for experiences, and I had a sister to play with.
But do you think people bullying you or calling you fat still bothers you?
Not now, because I went through some extreme diet as soon as I finished my school, because I was really cautious of how I look. And I remember it was my grandmother's 60th birthday, and there are so many people around, like all the family members came to celebrate the birthday. And then my aunt told me, "Oh, you're ugly like pumpkin."
What?
Yeah, I remember that moment. She was telling me, I was just right
And
next to her.
how old were you then?
I was really young. I must been like, I don't know, like 11, 12 or something, or maybe younger than that.
Do you give
Yeah.
your aunt bad looks now? I hope you do.
So it made me really cautious, I can say, which is, I mean, it's a personal issue because I've been trying to overcome the things that affected me when I was younger. Oh, gosh.
Okay, I'll tell you about the opposite side of being a very skinny person. So when I was young, I was extremely skinny and I was a hunchback. So I would sort of
Oh,
not stand straight and I would bend a little and walk around. And I would have strangers on the road come to me and say, "Hey, walk straight. You have a beautiful face, but the way you walk, and you should start eating because you're this thin."
yeah.
And I was so conscious of myself at one point. And lo and behold, after a few years, I started putting on weight. So for a long time, I thought that I would eat anything and still remain thin. And then in college, we had this. Our attendance would increase if we took some classes. So my friend and I took aerobics classes, and we started losing weight. And then I stopped because college got over, and then I just couldn't eat whatever I wanted to because I just started putting on weight. But the one good thing about putting on weight is when I was thin, I used to travel on flights, and that used to be very minimal travel, right? Only when traveling with parents, I would constantly puke on the flight. But as soon as I put on weight, that's completely stopped. And it's been what, 10 years since I've 10,
Oh,
15
dear.
years since I'm traveling, and never have I puked. And thankfully, the fat has sort of protected me, and I'm very happy about that.
Wow, that's very convenient, actually.
I mean, it's nice. I mean, I don't understand this obsession with being fat or being thin. My sister was an overweight child, and she was constantly told that, "Oh, be careful of how much you're eating," and "Oh, be careful of this." And of course, I think it affects relationships because she had a complex growing up overweight. I had a complex growing up extremely thin and a hunchback, and both of us have issues with our weights now.
It's
And I'm sure,
interesting.
and you've dieted for God knows how long because you were called fat and ugly like a pumpkin, and pumpkins are yummy to eat for sure.
I know. I love eating pumpkin.
So I really think parents are one thing, but the biggest harm is like these extended families that they do, man. It's
Mm,
just horrible.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because both of us we have Asian background, and coincidentally we both have a memory about the childhood.
Unnecessary advice
Yeah,
by
on the
strangers.
advice of our size. And I wonder if it's got something to do with this Asian culture, because I mean, I guess this is like not an issue, but then I wonder if it would have been kind of similar or very different if it was non-Asian culture, where people say take less seriously about how individuals look.
I don't think it's an Asian thing per se. I think it's a problem everywhere. People are fat shamed, but at least with India, I think we are trying to speak out against it, and there's a lot of talk on how to not body shame, whether you're thin, whether you're fat, or so. I think people just need to stop giving unnecessary advice where it's not your place to give any advice.
Hmm. Okay, let's move on to next question. What's one thing that you wish you could change about your childhood or not change?
Oh, I, not changes. When I was growing up and I was in school, I was very confident. So, and at least until my 10th grade, I used to roam around with an air that nobody had. Like people would come to me, I would help them out, and people had that belief in me. So I used to think that I was the school stud, you know. But as I grew up, especially from my 11th grade till college, my confidence just shattered somewhere. I wish that I had gotten, I had never lost that confidence.
Mm.
And now in my early 30s, if I may say so, I just wish we're not telling anybody how old we are. Early 30s is all that it is. But I just wish, as a child, everybody wants to see, oh, how will it be when I grow up? And me, I was always looking, I was not enjoying the moment, but I was always looking to have my own life, be independent, earn my own money, let me grow up, let me be a grown up.
Mm.
And it's not so fun. I wish I could go back and tell myself that, hey, just enjoy your moment right now and
Mm.
think about 20 years later.
Mm. You said 10th grade, 11th grade. How old is it?
So 10th grade is 15, 16?
Right, okay. So it'll be like middle school, high school in Korea
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think after high school, you go to college, right?
University, yeah.
Yeah. So after 12th grade, we go to university.
12th grade, okay. So do you have a first, second, third grade as well then?
Yeah. So
Um,
kindergarten, play
first,
school, kindergarten, then first to 10th grade, and then 10th to 12th, and then
oh,
university.
okay.
What about you? Do you have any regrets in your childhood? What do you think you should have? What would you like to take from your childhood? Some part of yourself, and what would you like to leave behind?
I probably would say take things less seriously. When I was in school, I was really disciplined. So rules are rules, sort of kid. So obviously all the teachers they loved me because I kept all the rules. I didn't do anything naughty because I was such a disciplined child. So but I wish I took things less seriously and just do some naughty stuff, like not illegal, obviously, but just a little bit of have little bit of fun here and there.
And did you rat on others, like tell on others?
Tell on others.
Like if somebody was not following a rule, did you go and complain to a teacher? Or
I was in this. I don't know if you have this kind of thing in India, but when I was in high school, we had this group, discipline group. So they would go out in the morning and stand in front of the school gate. So when the people come in through the gate, they will just pick out all the faults, like all the length of their hair, length of their skirts, if they have name tag, if the uniform was clean. And do you have this sort of thing in India?
my school, it was whether your uniform was neatly worn, and if your nails were long, if you had badges to wear.
Right, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
length
was
of a skirt, no, not much, and not.
right. I was in the one of those in that group picking out all the like faulties from other people, and I was so good at it. I was so
Did people hate you?
yeah, yeah. Actually, people hated me
Oh no.
for doing it because I took my job very seriously. So I was really good at it. And then the teachers are like, "Oh, you should carry on doing this next year, and then the next year because you're so good at this."
They didn't care that poor Borami was being hated on by other children for that discipline she brought.
That was nightmare. I didn't get bullied for doing it or anything, but then I heard like rumors from other schools. because the word spread how strict I was in the school to other schools.
Oh,
So
wow.
a friend in a different school once told me, you should you should calm down a bit because the word is really spreading and people are not liking it. So
And
that was,
how did that affect you?
I guess, but there was one instance was where I try not to think about it, but then there was one instance where I just got off the lift. I was going somewhere, and then as soon as I got off the lift, and there was another student just entering, and she said, "Oh," she looked at my face and then said, "You're disgusting,"
Oh,
and then
wow,
walked
that's
away.
nasty.
Yeah, so that was a bit nasty, and I at the time I was like, "Why do I have to hear this? Like, what was that? What was that about?" But then I think, like, thinking back, it must have been like this person must have been from the same school that I was, and and didn't like with my disciplined attitude in the school. I think how it affected me. I think life is not all about rules and disciplines. Life is to enjoy.
Hmm.
So to this day, I'm trying to take things not too seriously and just enjoy where possible. Trying to let things kind of make me down. Yeah,
Okay. Because yeah, I was not a naughty child. I was a very, very nice child when I was in school.
nice to.
But nice student. Teachers liked me. Some teachers loved me. Others didn't like me at all. But
Why?
I don't know. Their problem, not mine.
I don't.
But I wasn't ever too assertive, and I think that sort of come with me till this age where I'm really angry at someone. I want to tell them that this is the problem, but
Hmm.
if they come in front of me, I'll try to be not their friend, but I'll try to be as understanding as possible, and so my assertiveness sort of goes down or reduces completely, and I'm trying and I seem like I'm trying to be more of a counselor than, for example, an office, a boss. So it becomes a bit of a problem for sure.
Hmm. Okay. I think we can talk about our childhood forever, right? I have a kind of question that I've been really wanting to ask about your childhood.
Okay.
We have this our photo on our profile picture, and you have
Yeah, it's going to be
mushroom.
on our Instagram, which is
Yeah,
where people can go and look at it. It's Kimchi and Chutney.
plugging in, of
Yeah.
course.
It's KIMCHIANDCHUTNEY. Oh god,
Well
that's
done,
long.
well done spelling it. You have this mushroom hair, like it's so adorable. Like I love mushroom eating. And this mushroom hair was was it a thing when you're childhood, when you're younger?
Yeah, I don't remember that childhood when that age when I had that mushroom hair, but according to my mother, she gave it. But I remember that she did give the worst haircuts, but this turned out to be well. It's turned out to be good. So it's one of my favorite childhood photos where I'm just standing on the terrace of my
Oh,
grandmother's house wearing slippers and having that mushroom hair and mushroom haircut. And funnily enough, we had so many. I mean, I was obsessed with that mushroom haircut till I was 16. Like, I always had a boy cut growing up, and the boy I liked when I was 16 years old had a mushroom haircut.
oh, right. Okay.
Now I just think I'm just paying ode to myself by
Mm,
liking people who looked like me.
okay. Hmm. Okay.
Okay, my question would be to what advice would you give your parents about parenting you if you could give them now?
I would tell my parents probably, I don't know, they would really. Nice. They were really supportive. What advice would I tell them? I sometimes wish as a child I could have had more like opportunities where I could express my feelings, how I was feeling, how I was doing, and not that my parents didn't care. I think with a bit of more encouragement, they could have get me talk more about how I feel, so that I can be more expressive rather than keeping things to myself. Yeah, I think because it's important to express yourself and be expressive, your
Definitely.
opinions and how you feel and all that. So yeah, what about you? What would you tell your parents?
I would tell my parents to sort of give me a little bit more exposure. Because I think, of course, being a parent, it's always a first time, it's a new experience for them and they are doing it for the first or the second time. But I used to express, like, if I was upset, I was known for my crying every night or every other night when I was young. And my favorite memory, in fact, is from there where my grandfather would hold up a mirror to me when I was crying and he would say, "Look, look, you're looking like a monkey." And I would stop crying and tell him, "No, I'm looking nice only."
Oh dear.
But it was I had to kick and shout to express myself and express my anger or my emotions. But what I would definitely tell my parents is to give, guide me in that exposure. For example, I'd never studied abroad, and I could have, but my father was very busy in his work, and my mother didn't know that much. And she needed exposure herself to guide me. But could that effort have been made? I think it could. But I don't have any complaints, but never know how things would have changed if I had gotten a different education, stayed set alone at a young age, gone to a hostel, and like you've lived abroad most of your adult life. So maybe I'd have been more independent and things. And
Okay, we talked a lot about our problems and some not so nice experience. What's your happy memory?
I think my happiest memory in during my childhood was the time I spent in Bombay, where so I've had a huge influence from my sister, who is 2.5 years older than me, and I used to worship her as a child. So she would come up with these games like where we were pirates, there was a gang of thieves, and we used to hide around the playground and play for hours together. I think that uninhibited fun is what I will always look back to when I think about, togetherness and of fun. So that's my happy memory of my childhood. What was your happy memory?
I'm not sure if I can say it's a happy memory or hilarious memory, but my dad used to take us to different places for fun on the weekends. And then one weekend, our family went to the river, and then my mom was making some food, and we were just playing around, running around, and my dad was playing with us as well. And then it started to raining really, really hard, like it was pouring down. So, and it was in the middle of when my mom was cooking, and we had like all the fire out, all the plates out, and everything with the vegetables. And then because of the rain, we had to escape to the car. So my mom was like cleaning up all the dishes and food and everything, and then my dad was covering me and my sister, and then we ran towards the car. And of course, in the middle of this raining, we had to eat that food. So me and my sister were sitting at the back of the car eating the foods that my mom was preparing. And my parents outside, soaking wet, cleaning up
Oh,
the rest of the stuff so that we can leave.
that's a nice one to have.
I don't know. It was like some sort of, I can't remember what. In fact, it must have been kimchi stew. Because everyone is kimchi in Korea, and it must be, and kimchi stew is very popular. So it must be the stew, and me and my sister were busy eating this kimchi stew, and then my parents were busy just like cleaning up and trying to leave this whole madness. It was funny, although not so funny for my parents probably, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was hilarious.
I mean,
Okay.
one thing one definitely needs to say is parents definitely do a lot. Like they,
Of course.
now I think about traveling on trains. Like as a child, we used to travel together as a family to go back to Calcutta every summer. And we used to nag my father saying, every time a vendor came to sell food, we would like, Dad, buy us this, Dad, buy us that. I
Oh,
can't imagine having a child of my own and constantly, feeding its needs.
oh,
Uh, yeah.
it's a serious job, really, and a huge responsibility. Then obviously we owe to our parents a lot our whole life
Yeah.
for doing so much for us. And on
And for
that,
bearing us. Yeah.
yeah. So on that note, shall we sum up and say what we are grateful for?
Yeah. Do you
You,
want to start? Or do you want me to start?
yeah, you go ahead.
All right. I've actually not thought of this, but because just spoke about the incident with my grandfather, and I've seen so many people not having great relationships with their grandparents. So I'm
Mm,
grateful for my liberal as hell grandfather who was not only sweet and kind, but very protective of us. And
mm,
grandparents have this tendency to, love unconditionally. So
mm,
I lost my grandfather in 2016, and you know, the small things that he would do. I'm just
mm,
grateful for those memories of him. That's what I'm grateful for today. What
mm.
about you?
I was thinking the same actually. I'm grateful for my parents. I should probably say this more often. Well, I'm grateful for my parents because they really tried to provide the best childhood possible, I guess. I mean, of course, all the parents they do, and my parents as well, my mom and dad, they really did so much, and I feel sometimes bad for them just sacrificing so much. But yeah, I'm really grateful for my parents for helping me and shaping me who I am now.
On that note, do you want to give our email ID so that people can share their
Oh
stories?
yes, yes, of course. So people, listeners, we now have our email address set up, so you can send us your questions or comments, your feedback about our podcast. So the email address is kimchiandchutney@gmail.com. Kimchi as in KIMCHI, and chutney CHUTNEY @gmail.com. So send us an email. We look forward to hearing from you.
And till next time.
All right then. Bye bye. Have a nice week.
Bye.